All right, so we're back out here in my studio today. Last time you seen this guy, he didn't have any clothing on. And in the last video, I was showing you how to make a controller for a marionette. So for today, what we're going to do is we're going to string the marionette onto the controller. And it's not really a difficult process. It's actually pretty simple. We're going to start with the head, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do that now. Okay, so I've taken the arm controller piece off this controller just to make things a little bit simpler for right now. And one of the things that you should understand is that you're going to be holding a marionette puppet with your hand on this piece of the controller. And it's the easiest way to hold it is to have your arm parallel to the floor, all right? And your hand is going to be turned. You have to be able to do this. You don't want to have it way up here, and you don't want to be holding it way down here. And of course, the size of your marionette is going to determine a lot of these things. All right, I'm just going to set this down for a second. And I have a ruler, okay? And I have my marionette. And I'm going to hold the ruler so that I can see the numbers on it facing me. I'm going to put my marionette on the floor, and I'm holding my arm parallel to the ground, and I'm going to see what that distance is. Okay? So if you have somebody that can help you out with this, it would make your life a whole lot easier. But you need to know the distance between the connections to the marionette for the head and the distance between your parallel arm. Okay? So with the marionette standing on the floor and your arm parallel to the floor, what is that distance? So for me, it is right on 15 inches. Okay, so let's talk about string that we can use to string our marionette. I have a couple of examples here. This one here is just regular paracord. It's a white paracord that has no flex to it. So you can pull on this. It does not stretch at all. I want people, when they look at my marionette, to know that it is a string puppet. And so I use white so that people can tell it's a string puppet. Also, I use white because a lot of the backgrounds that I'm going to be working with are white. If you could find black if you could find black paracord, I have not been able to. I understand that it exists, but I've never seen it. If you could find black paracord and you want your string your marionette with black, that would be fine. This right here is something that's called, I believe it's called embroidery floss. And you can get this, it's just a little bundle, but it's quite long. I think it's like 8 meters long. So there's lots of it, more than enough there to string a marionette probably a couple of times. But it doesn't have any stretch to it either. My problem with this is I don't believe it would be very strong if you're moving your marionette around very often. But it is black. So those are a couple of options. My preference is going to be this white paracord. I'm just going to get rid of that. So I showed you a couple of seconds ago how I measured it. So I knew that between my controller, this is where the head is going to attach on. Between the head of my Frankenstein marionette and the controller, I needed there to be 15 inches. So I'm going to use this white paracord, and I'm going to measure 30 inches because I need it to go from the controller, the head controller, down to the marionette on both sides. So that's 30 inches. Plus, I need some to tie at each end. So I'm going to save about 3 or 4 inches on each side. So I need 15 inches head to controller, controller to head, and then I need another 4 inches on each side. So 15 plus 15 plus 4 is 38 inches. All right. So that's how we're going to measure that. So I'm simply going to just take this and measure it. This is a 15-inch ruler. I'm going to measure 15, and then I'm going to take it from here and measure another 15, plus I'm going to add 8. All right, so here to 8, right there, and then I'm going to just take a knife and cut that. That's it. All right, get rid of my knife and get rid of this. Your first job should be to put the string through the controller, and all right, and then make sure that your controller is lined up so that the part that's facing out should be near the head that's facing out. It's that easy. Now, so this is kind of important. So, see if I can zoom in here a little bit. So where his head gets tied on, I'm going to put the string from the back through and then tie the knot. And you want to leave yourself lots of extra. Don't cut anything off until we're have our marionette well strung. All right, so please save yourself the trouble and don't trim anything off until the end. So I'm going to put this on from the back through to the front. Same on the other side, back through to the front, and then I'll come back and show you. All right, so I've just tied it on both sides of the head, and I'll stand him up and let you see what he looks like. Okay, so here he is, feet on the floor. My arm is parallel to the floor, which is probably the easiest way to hold it. And you can see that already just by having the little piece of string on the head controller, you can already start to do some movements with him. Have him looking right, left, have him nodding his head, or I should say tilting his head. So this is turning out pretty good so far. Remember, don't cut these off yet, all right? Let's just leave them dangle for now. Okay, so this is a piece of furnace chain that I use to hang drawings and paintings up in my studio. And do you remember when I had you put a cup hook onto your controller at the top? Well, here's where this starts to pay off. That cup holder will allow you to hang your marionette up. And so all of the rest of these things that we're going to do, you're going to be required to either hang it up or have somebody hold it for you while you do the measurements. The reason I do the head first is because I typically work by myself, and it's easier just to hang him from that cup hook and then do all the measurements. All right, so one of the first measurements that we're going to do is the measurement between the arm and the controller. So previously I had taken the arm controller off, and now we're going to put the arm controller back onto our marionette controller. All right, so we need the distance now between his arm and where we put the little eye hook, just above his hand on his arm. So we need the distance between that and the controller, okay? So you're just going to need a regular tape measure, and you're just going to measure the distance between those two. And for this, it's 28 inches. So I need 28 inches plus 4 for tying plus 4 for tying, okay? So that's 36. Okay, so I ran my strings from the hand controller down to the hands, and I'm not going to take them off right now, but you'll see how they're able to move his hands around, all right? So next we're going to do his last two strings, and the last two strings are from the knees. So I'm just going to pan down here a little bit. All right, so the strings for the knees are underneath the pants. So what you need to do is find out where the string would meet the pant, and then just make a tiny, tiny little cut in your pant leg so that you can string this, you can pop that thing through and string the string through. All right, so for me, I'm just going to kind of line the pants up at the front, find out where that is, and then I'm just going to make a tiny little hole. So I'm just going to use an X-Acto knife, and I'm going to make the tiniest of little holes where that pops through, and it's right here. So just going to pop that through, and I don't know if you can see on camera, but I've popped through the little eye hook that was on the top of the knee. So now what you need to do is measure from that little eye hook up here to the top of the controller to get your distance. So I'm just going to pan out here a little bit. All right, so you're going to edit all this out, right, Ron? Of course. All right, so now you need to measure the distance from your eye hook on your controller for the leg down to where you popped this little eye hook out. And so for me, it is 32 inches. And then of course, I'm going to add 3 or 4 inches onto each end. So 32 inches plus 4 is 40 inches. So you're going to need a 40-inch piece on each side. All right, so let's take him down off the hanger and see how he moves. So we have the arms strung, so we can move the arms independently. And we have the legs strung now so that we can pick up one leg or pick up the other leg, and we can put the controller back on for the head. Now, on the way his hands are hanging right now are a little bit, I kind of want them down to the side, so I'm going to loosen the strings out to get them back down to the sides, but I'm kind of okay with the way the legs are. All right, and the head, of course, the head will turn left and right, much the way I want Frankenstein to move. So I'm going to make a couple of adjustments here. I'm going to loosen up the arms a little bit so that the arms are hanging more down to his side. I want you to remember that every marionette is different. Every single marionette that you make, every single marionette that, two people can make the exact same marionette side by side, and it's going to turn out differently somehow. Whether it's the distance between the joints or the distance of the strings or how it's constructed, every marionette is going to be slightly different, okay? So I hope you had fun with this. I got lots of adjustments here to do, You probably have lots of adjustments to do on yours also. If you like this video, if you picked up any tips or tricks from this video, please click like. Better yet, I'd love it if you'd subscribe to my channel and get all of the upcoming craziness that I'm going to do. So yeah, please subscribe, please click like. Thanks for coming out and checking me out once again. Really do appreciate it.